Okay, so today we are going back from the 5, 6, 7. We're fast forwarding to include the 8, the 9, and I still have the throwback 5. So I think this might be the same pair from there. Um, I had moved and these were still in a box, and I finally broke them out because I'll go over my previous 8s and 7s. I just bought a new pair of 8s that were like half price, and then a new pair of 9s. It seems like the 8s are being phased out for the 9s to come in. Oh, that's interesting. So this is like usually kind of glued in. I don't know if you can hear that, but this one's just lightly glued in. So yeah, I'm usually hesitant to remove the insoles until I wear them around for a while and kind of break that up. And then eventually feel like I need to throw them in the wash and then pull the insoles out. So here we go. The 5s. We already went over the 5s with that video. I have not been wearing them too much lately, except for the past like week or two. And I'll show you why in a second because of the state of my 8s. But they are, I don't know, nice and warm and fit well, and I just slide them on and it's no big deal. Right now I'm at law school, so I'm just, going back and forth to law school for the most part, not doing too much hiking or anything, not doing a ton of walking a day. I do go upstairs several flights, several times a day. We're talking 3 flights, at a minimum several times a day, if not 4 or 5, multiple times throughout the day. Just to, stay healthy. So we got, and so what's interesting here is this was like 3 generations of these ASICS gel ventures, because, and we're really lucky because normally I wouldn't have shoes this old, but I kind of forgotten about them after that review, had them on the shelf, and then, it wasn't until I went to move that I was like, oh shit, these are brand new in the box. So yeah, we got old, newer, newest. Haven't tried these out yet. So this is, again, going to be a review of the difference in the generations and the difference in the shoes. Specifics, right? I can give you a review a little bit about the 8s in backpacking, hiking, in that regard, and we can do a breakdown of how, what's changed from the 8s to the 9s. I also have a 7, so we can go back on that a little bit. So these are the state of the 7s and 8 versus a new 8. So this is why, since the criticism on the original video, I do try to have multiple pairs at once in, various states of disrepair to really get the most out of them. Instead of just, using 2 pairs a year no matter what. So these were bought a year ago, for instance. So by keeping multiple pairs at one time for kind of different reasons, you can kind of get more out of them. So why are we moving out of wearing both of these sets and picking up some new ones and busting out the old ones? Because these ones just started to look really grungy and start coming apart. So this is the first time I've seen this happen. I did Sharpie some spots, I believe, on one of these. Maybe it wore off or something, but I was trying to keep them looking, these are like pretty much all black, so I was trying to keep it looking all right. And then this is pretty bad. So I don't, need my shoes looking super nice, but I don't need it to look like I'm homeless. You know what I'm saying? Like once they start coming apart, we'll try to do a little bit to them to keep using them for a while, but they kind of start coming apart at the same time that you're like wearing them out. And then it's kind of weird because like this is a good example how this shoe is much worse than the state of this shoe, my right foot. And my right foot's my dominant foot. So, but it is still separating some here, there. There you go. You can see that that's separating from the fabric. Yeah, this kind of sucks. But look how worn down the tread is, right? Like that is getting pretty flat. So, and we'll get into this some too. I'll go into the 8 as well before we start getting into the kind of design differences. So this was a new one for the 8s for me. The section, I don't know what you call this section, but that supports the ankle, just like coming apart. Really weird. But these ended up wearing out, like that huge hole. Depending what socks I'm wearing. I have a lot of socks that are not, more boring, dark greens and blacks and stuff. I got a lot of socks that are pink, blue, purple, orange, whatever, right? And so that really shows up. And this ankle as well coming apart. So I will say the good thing is on both these, I was watching back my video just to get a little bit of a reminder, the heel counter thing, right? Like, yeah, I can kind of force it down for this part to a degree, but it pops right back up, and that's just the kind of fabric part. This section here is still incredibly strong of a heel counter. So you're not, look how beat up these are. And I'll tell you some of the stuff I've done with these in a minute. And, it's like, yeah. So I'm not sure how many trails I did with this versus that, but I was swapping back and forth. I think these were newer for a while, so I was being a little bit nicer to them. But eventually they became like kind of more my dailies. But I went in the Grand Canyon, for example, hiked all the way down in the snowier time. There's still snow and stuff. Had to use ice spikes that I forget what they're called, like micro spikes or whatever, but it's this thick rubber, and you put it on the back or the front and then stretch it over the back. And it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. Hiked all the way down across the river and to Phantom Ranch, which was open. Had a couple beers and a snack bar or two. And so since October, I sold my house in October. That was the same month I bought these, I think. Maybe it was November 2022. Hold on, we're in 23. I don't know. But anyway, so I sold my house in October and just went and did a ton of outdoor stuff. And when was this video posted? This was 2 years ago. So the year before, I also did a long tour for several months of outdoor activity. And so I gotta say, these are great for hiking, for backpacking. They, have a good grip for a bunch of different surfaces. They're comfy. They come in all these different sizes, and they're affordable. Do they give you the best ankle support? No, right? Like, they're low cut. Do these laces come untied more often compared to the older style. This was a criticism or a concern I had in that video that I did a couple years ago. Yes, absolutely, right? But do they come untied so often that it's like a huge annoyance or gripe? No, not at all. So why they change laces, I don't know. Is it that big of a deal? No. So yeah, I still think these are great shoes, not just for walking around in a warehouse like my last video, but also for the outdoor purposes they were intended, right? At one point I was throwing down at least 6 miles a day hiking, and it was great. It was absolutely great. It was all in these shoes. It was the Southwest of America. Right outside of El Paso, there's like this Jefferson State Park or something like that. And that has some great trails that I really enjoyed. And, you know, all this stuff was like way rockier than I was used to. And this was this past year. The year before, I did a lot of stuff as well. Some of it was rockier, some of it wasn't. But this past year in, you know, Southwest, going from Texas through over to California through the Death Valley and everything, yeah, it was just all, for the most part, it was all way rockier, and these shoes held up fine. They held up just fine. Would these hold up the same as these? I'm not so sure. So this is one thing I noticed, and now we're going to transition in this generational thing, right? So here you have, we're going to get into the construction. So this is the midsole, right? This is the foamy part that they're really generous with. And this is midsole here. This midsole, or foam, right? Foam. So you bend the shoe, and the bottom sole is not attached to each other from here to here to here, so that you get, you know, easier, better flexing happening for comfort, right? But like this, you know, I don't know how great that is or useful or whatever. So now you go to these. That's generation 5. You can see right here, they say on them 5, right? And then this is the 7 and the 8. And same soles on the bottom. They have these slots. And then on one side, it's filled in here. The other side, it is not. In the back, too. I don't know why. Always thought that was kind of weird. Didn't fully get it. Didn't fully get this, but I get it now, thinking about it and seeing. Never had issues with like this lamination and dirt getting in there and being uncomfortable, nothing like that. I never even noticed that before, probably because your foot doesn't usually bend that far, that often. But now you can see clearly something interesting going on over time with like my weight or something. But you can see how it's not poking up at all. There's a clear disconnect there, but here there is not. It has like squished in over time to the yellow, right? See them on the back. This is squished in some. Now, why is that interesting? Well, the latest model I haven't worn yet that I'm curious about. This model, and then this also has a cutout here and on the side a little bit. I don't know why though, because it's the heel, right? Your heel doesn't bend, so I don't know how important that is. Now, let's go to the latest, greatest number 9s. The full price, you know, $50, $60 for these. They don't have that, but what they do have is both sides. They have these cutouts, and they don't even have the like kind of you know, fit here, the like lock and key sort of situation that they had on the old ones. Now, is this a cost-cutting thing for the mold, right? You have all this flat, so the mold is way simpler to make. In the long run, save some dollars on, you know, upfront manufacturing cost, tool assembly, maybe. This is just speculation, right? But they update these things like every year or whatever. So maybe they're like, hey, is this overkill doing all this? Do our customers even care, right? In the past, it had even more detail in the foam versus the sole, right? But they've been improving the shoe in large part, in my opinion, and, you know, certain parts have gotten simpler. Less of that lock and key detail, right? Now, even less. But will it have the same flexibility? Because, you know, you could argue it's even less constrained in the bend here without any lock and key stuff. And instead of these long cutouts, they just have several cutouts that are smaller. I don't know. They still have some of the similar design aesthetic of the V's in both, you know, directions, but now, you know, instead of this weird sideways V thing of like outlugs or whatever around the outside, it's still these continued V's. So yeah, I have no idea. We will see once I, you know, wear these on some trails and stuff. And I do some hiking while I'm here at law school in Arkansas, but it's not as often as I'd like. It's not as far as I'd like. So what else has changed between the 8 and the 9? Let's see. This is my first time going through these. I need to go grocery shopping, but these came in. So, and then we're gonna have the 5, because this is a 3-generation look here, right? So the laces have changed. We already knew that, so that happened before. And the prices stayed the same, you know. I was checking this out earlier. How's it feel fabric-wise? It feels the same. It feels the same. Is it the same? I'm not sure. I'm not a fabric expert. From like the inside side of things. The outside, it definitely looks different. Oh, hold on. Let me get this out here. There we go. The inside, it feels like a smooth nylon or something. Not like that. Not like that. Feels like the bottom of the tongue. That's the fabric that it feels like underneath. And it looks the same. Yeah. Yeah, the bottom of the tongue fabric is the same as the, I think, maybe not. It might be one extra layer or something. Yeah, no, it's not the same as the bottom of the tongue. But like the bottom of the tongue, the inside fabric and the toe box all feels the same. Why does that matter? I mean, this happened to this shoe. I got holes in other shoes. Why did this happen here at this spot on this shoe so bad? And I don't remember it doing that in the other shoes. I'm not sure. But we can look, right? And we can think about this. That's the wrong side. Where is their fabric here where there is more support in the year before, right? More support in years past, right? So maybe the new shoe, it looks like they're putting even less support up front here and on the side. They're going even more extreme. So maybe the new shoe is going to be even worse, and it's going to have even more problems with getting holes. We shall see. We know that they pay attention to these things to some degree and make improvements and changes because of this issue, where these would come up all the time on all my old shoes. This little section here would get undone. So this issue, right, is not happening. That's the 7. It's the 8. It's not happening on the 8s. Why? I think the, leather or faux leather or whatever was not as good. I think, look at the new shoe. Similar style. Interesting how, there's no real differentiation as you move up it. And I would think it would get like smoother, but it continues this grit up and over. This bends up and over. That's fascinating to me. Let's continue. I think my last video, was 20 minutes. Well, going over 3 generations. Last time it was 2 generations. What else has changed? Did they go away? They did. They went away with the extra hole again. No extra hole. Extra hole. Extra hole. Extra hole. No extra hole. Again, I don't think I've ever used it. But there's got to be a reason it's usually there. Let's see. This has been a big change over the years. How stiff and the design and stuff of this graphic thing. Because this one was super stiff at times, causing rub issues. And it's got multiple different materials. And they started going away with that and became more aesthetic, right? So it's all held up fine without really thinking about it much on the 8s, right? Look how worn these are, yet there's really no wear issues on the sides. So it's it's kind of funny how they improve certain things and then other things kind of go off the rails in weird ways. So eventually maybe they'll settle onto the perfect shoe. It's still kind of prototype at this point in ways, right? This will break down and they'll address that, and then this will break down and they'll address that. We'll see if these ones will if they come apart like this or not. This issue doesn't seem to be an issue anymore. The issue with these feeling too constricting at times isn't an issue anymore. So we'll see how things go with the sole differences. We'll see how things go with some of the quality concerns, right? The lack of support over here. Will a hole develop? And here it's more coverage than before. This is one of the ways we've compared these things in the past, right? How's the amount of coverage versus fabric? So the latest model, there's some air holes, but like full coverage. So that's gonna be better for, sticks, rocks, whatever. They still have some of the support elements. still more coverage. They got a breathing hole there, and that's it. Again, is this beneficial to their manufacturing process in ways, right? The less of these little holes that you have, it might be better in ways to the construction, but it also has less sewing, right? So you look at all that sewing there, reinforcing that. You look at sewing around all of these. And then when you have less cutouts, less sewing. So, you know, we'll see in the end how it all turns out. The backs, some breathing holes, no cutout there, just straight connect. I'm excited. I think a different sole, keeping all the stuff similar, it'll give us a good opportunity after I wear these in and whatnot, and then when the next ones come out, the 10s, we'll be able to look back a year or two from now and be able to see what did they get right and what did they get wrong when they moved from the 8s to the 9s and the 9s to the 10s. Was the sole better? Was the durability of certain things, like these fabric issues, corrected, right? And have they finally settled on the perfect shoe? Oh, this is something else I noticed. The old one doesn't like stay open. So I never really used it. None of them really ever stayed open easily. If you can't quickly and easily get your finger in there, then what's the point? This one, from Generation 5, you can't. But at one point, now they're back to it. So, yeah, that's it. ASICS Gel Ventura in-depth review. 9, 8, 7, and 5. 3 generations of soles. From a guy who worked in a warehouse on his feet all day, loved these shoes. Also, backpacking, Grand Canyon, hiking, Death Valley, Colorado mountains at the Rockies State Park or whatever, or not State Park, National Park. Where else did I hike in these shoes? All over the place. What's that? Crater Lake, I think is what it's called. Go up to the Firewatch Tower. That was fantastic. That was snowy as well. That was before I had any type of crampons or whatever you call it, micro spikes to put on the shoes. What else? I don't know. So much hiking. So, that's it. Hope this serves you well. Spread joy.